Hi everybody, this will be part 23 of the character rigging tutorial series. This video we're going to start creating the controls for the legs because that's a major good starting point of understanding how we need to create controls for basic motion such as an idle, standing motion, walk, run, jumping, bending down. We need to create inverse kinematic motion for the leg so that we have that force applied against the foot and leg. We'll come back and work our way up from the legs, but we're going to start by creating inverse kinematics. So if you can remember what we talked about with a couple of previous videos, we discussed forward kinematics versus inverse kinematics. Forward kinematics for animating each individual joint one at a time. Inverse kinematics is using an end effector to be able to animate more than one joint at once. Especially for the legs, we want to create inverse kinematics because this gives us the opportunity to step, plant the foot, kick, lean over on the foot, bend down from the hips. So if I go take my pelvis now, which is the root for everything, and move it up and down, my feet won't stay in place as if I'm stepping on a surface. So here's where inverse kinematics comes into play. In the rigging module, if you go to skeleton, create IK handle, but I'm going to go to the box beside it because we do need to make a couple adjustments. I'm going to reset this tool to show you what it looks like as default. So this is the inverse kinematic tool. Skeleton, create IK handle. We'll come back and talk about some other IK tools later. So there are two major options for the IK. There's called a rotate plane solver and then a single chain solver. So rotate plane solver is when we're skipping over at least one joint. Single chain is when we're not skipping over any joints. So as default, it should be set to rotate plane or RP solver. One thing we're going to change within the IK settings is we're going to turn on sticky. Sticky means whenever this IK is not moved, it's going to stick in place or stay put until we move this IK. So this will allow us to do bending at the knees or at the legs down to the feet. From the torso standpoint, this also allows you to kick and push off of objects with the leg. So with the IK handle tool, make sure the first IK we're going to create is going to be from the hip to the ankle. We're going to use the rotate plane and turn on sticky. I'm not going to change anything else. All right. So when I'm creating the leg inverse kinematics, I'm going to have the IK tool. I'm going to first select the left hip. And then I'm going to skip over the knee, and I also have twist joints in here. They're not going to matter right now. But I'm going to skip over the knee and then click on the ankle. So actually, what I need to do before that is, in the previous video, I created some test motions. So I'm going to go in and remove out those test animations. So that's important. So before we do any control setup, you need to make sure the body does not have any keyframes on the geometry or the joints. So I can do that by making sure I'm on frame 0, right-clicking on my translate, rotate, and scale attributes, and choosing break connections. I'm going to go up here to my shoulders and elbows because now I have keyframes there, and do the same thing. Right-click on those attributes, break connections. It removes those red boxes to note that there is animation on my character's joints. All right, so back with the inverse kinematic tool, rotate plane solver, sticky is on. I'm going to select the left hip first, skip over the knee, and select the left ankle. All right, so it's kind of hard to see because that IK is relatively small and on the inside of the body. What you can do is get that IK and scale it up some. Let's see if it shows me. Nope, I don't think it's showing me the size there. Maybe my IKs are not visible. Let's see, show all. Hard to see the scale. Yeah, so you can't really scale the IKs and be able to see them outside the body too much, but the IK is there. Let's see, if I turn off the body, turn off the joints, there's my IK for my leg. Okay, show you it goes from the hip, skips over the knee, goes down to the ankle. Now let's turn everything back on and let's move that. So with that IK selected, I'm going to click and move that. Now I can move the entire leg with just one inverse kinematic control at the ankle. Okay, if I move that out, it'll move it side to side as well. So that's the inverse kinematic from the hip to the ankle. Let's go ahead and name that. So we'll do IK underscore left underscore, or L for left, IK. left leg IK. All right, let's get our, well, let's show why a couple of things are necessary. So that IK is necessary so that way with sticky turned on, the right leg does not have an IK, the left leg does. So if I bend down the pelvis now, previously if I bend this down it will not stop the legs from moving. But when I bend the pelvis down now, that foot is stuck in place because of that IK. The ankle will still rotate, we'll take care of that here in a minute. But the right leg bends down or goes straight, the left leg bends and stays put. So what this is nice for is to give myself a force inverse kinematic end effector applied to the leg. Whenever you're testing out the motion, always Control Z to undo to get back to your default T pose. That's really important, especially as we get into more detailed controls. So that IK, we can select it by having our outliner open. It gives me the opportunity to kind of move my leg around from an end effector, but if I put my leg up like that and move the pelvis, that IK will stay in put until, you can see it breaking in the wrong angle, but until the joint stretches out and locks up. Then it won't stay put anymore. So there is limits. If all the joints lock up, then the foot and leg is going to move away from that IK, but it's still going to point in the direction of the IK. All right. So something else to note is your hip, knee, and ankle joint needs to be completely aligned in the front axis. If they are not in a complete vertical line in the front axis, you will have popping on the side. So let me see if I can try to do that here. And the IK will not be corrected properly. So if you have kind of like a bowing of the leg where my hip, knee, and ankle are not completely aligned in the front axis, let's see if it'll do it weirdly for me. If I select the hip with the IK tool, skip over to the ankle, you see how it actually popped and moves that leg when it created that IK. So there's what it was. If I select the hip to ankle, it's popping the leg, and that means it's not going to be able to animate the leg exactly how it should. There's some weird diagonal motion going on with the leg. What also could happen is if we do not have a forward bend in the knee, so my knee is in front of my hip and my ankle. If instead it is too straight, see if I over exaggerate that a little bit, and now do the IK, it may pop the leg in the opposite direction, so as in the knee might bend backwards. Because my joints were originally created with that forward bend, it's not doing that, but it may bend the knee backwards or to the side. So you do have to make sure, let me undo back to default position. From the front view, hip, knee, ankle are all completely aligned in a vertical axis. Okay? So that way the knee will bend forward and the ankle will bend backwards. Okay. If when you're creating IKs that the leg pops around or bends in an improper direction, you need to go back and recreate or fix the rotation angles of those joints. All right, so we have our leg IK that moves the hip to the ankle, but if I move my pelvis, it doesn't allow me to keep the foot or toe planted down. So here's where the single chain IK comes into play. Hip to ankle IK is a rotate plane. I'm going to go back into my IK handle tool, change the current solver to single chain. So single chain does not skip any joints. And we're going to use this for the ankle to the ball and the ball to the toe. So with the IK single chain solver, I'm going to click on the ankle and then click on the ball of the foot. That should not pop the joints either. So one thing we're making sure when we're creating the IKs is that it does not pop or move or rotate the joints as much as it could. All right, so I also need another IK, single chain IK from the ball of the foot, base of the toe, to the end of the toes. Okay. So I have 3 IKs. My first one is a rotate plane from the hip to the ankle. The second one, we'll go ahead and rename this one. IK left, let's see, left ball. IK left toe. Okay. So I have 3 IKs now. The ball and the toe IKs are single chain. The leg is a rotate plane. So now if I come in here and move the pelvis down, let's see what's happening now. Make sure that's still running. All right, let me pause and make sure everything is set up properly, and we'll come back and correct this. Okay, so I think it accidentally thought I had the IKs and the pelvis selected, so it was doing this. So I just deselected everything and clicked on the pelvis individually. I click that there. Yeah, there we go. Still works. Okay. So I think it accidentally thought I had all 4 IKs and the pelvis joint selected. So with the pelvis joint selected, and I move this down now, you can see that foot stays flat. If I move the pelvis to the left or to the right, it'll try to keep that foot flat until it locks up that joint. So that's exactly the motion that we're looking for that foot. And this is also good for pushing off with the toe, pointing with the toe as well. So that's the setup motion that we're looking for. What this is called is a variation to the reverse foot setup that we can do to create natural motion of our foot. So instead of creating a separate joint system for the reverse foot, we can create 3 IKs in a hierarchy system like this. So that way, if I select all 3 of those IKs and move the 3 IKs together, that's just like stepping and pointing the foot. But then I can also move individual IKs. So I can take just the leg IK and move that. I can take just the ball IK and move that, or just the toe IK, curl that toe as well. So that's how we're going to set up the legs. Let's come back and do the other leg now. Inverse Kinematic tool, we're going to change it back to rotate plane solver. We're going to click on the hip, then skip over the knee, go to the ankle. We'll test that out quickly. That's working. And then we'll get it back with our IK tool. We're going to change it back to a single chain solver. And then we're going to go from the ankle to the ball. We get our IK tool again. We're going to create a third IK from the ball to the toe. Okay, let's go rename. IK right leg. Well, I think I said IK twice earlier, so let's go remove that out. IK right leg. This one's the IK right ball, or you could say foot base or toe base or whatnot. IK right toe. There we go. All right, so now we already have some more natural motion. We can bend the character down. We can pick up an entire leg by selecting those 3 IKs and moving that around. Okay. We can do some twisting and the legs will still stay put of the torso. So this video talked about how to create IKs for the legs, which is a starting point for the controls for the legs. All right, the next video we'll come back and create curve controls for the legs to set up some base motion for this part of the body.